So, if you watched my Why Adrianette is is objectively bad video, then you would know what I like in romance. Basically, what I like in romance is when the romance is basically not the point, or not the main point at least. I think a romance works best when it is supported by the story rather than being what supports the story. Now, growing up, I watched a lot of things. I've watched all sorts of movies. I've watched soap operas, Mexican soap operas, which in Spanish it would be called novelas. I watched a lot of cartoons, obviously. Out of all of the romance movies I've watched, two stuck out. One for how particularly good it was, and one for how particularly bad it was. These movies would be In Her Shoes and Something Borrowed. This video was mildly inspired by Blacklight Jack's sort of why a certain series rocks or why a certain series sucks. So basically, what I'm trying to do is explain why I think In Her Shoes is good and why Something Borrowed is bad. So, this is In Her Shoes, and that one is Something Borrowed. I downloaded these images from Google. So that's why they look like that. Now there's basically the two characters that I want you all to focus on. So for In Her Shoes, it would be the two characters, Maggie and Sophia, or Sophie. I forget what her name is sometimes. I think it's Sophia though. And for Something Borrowed, it would be Rachel and Darcy. So let's go over the plot. Okay, so I can name many things about In Her Shoes without even so much as really focusing on the romance. I can't really talk about Something Borrowed without mentioning the romance because that's kind of the point of Something Borrowed. To me, this is bad because, as I mentioned before, if you've watched my Adriana is Subjectively Bad video, there's only so much you can do with writing a story about two characters falling in love and trying to be in a relationship, but ultimately being unable to be together and because of random conflict that doesn't make any sense. And until the conflict is resolved by the end of the movie. Now, In Her Shoes, I feel like is a movie more so about the characters and their personal and issues than it is about pushing two people to be together. Something Borrowed is less about the characters and more about pushing the romance. But let's continue on to the characters. Now, I think characters are the most important part of a story. Because when you have passive characters, it's very noticeable. It's very obvious when a character, when you're basically making a character do something because the plot needs them to do something rather than letting the characters lead the plot themselves. And the reason, and it, because I can't talk today. And it becomes more obvious when the character does an action that doesn't align with their personality or their beliefs. Like, let's take a shy character. Like, let's take, say, Marinette from Miraculous, or Milan from Miraculous. Would it make sense for Milan, who is shown to be extremely shy and anxious, to suddenly start yelling at, I don't know, to suddenly start yelling at freaking Marinette for no real reason? No, because it's not really in her character to do it. So when she does, so if she were to do it, it would be obvious that the writer is pushing her to be out of character just to have some conflict. Now let's go into the two movies. In Her Shoes. Now Maggie is like a party girl, almost a stereotypical bimbo who likes sex, wants to be an actress, and isn't really shown to be like the brightest. And Sophia is like more serious, more mature. She's a lawyer, she's got her life put together. Now, it is mostly because of Maggie's decisions that drive the story forward, because her being sort of immature and like not really making the best decisions leads Maggie to doing something really wrong, and that's perfectly in character. Now let's go to something borrowed. Rachel is somewhat depicted as a sort of average, somewhat insecure, or actually very insecure person. While Darcy, I don't know if I mentioned the characters before, but whatever, I guess I'm mentioning it now. While Darcy, the blonde one, is shown to be very sort of confident, to the point of being arrogant. She's kind of shown to be a little mean and demanding. Now, if the insecure, sort of average, everyday girl Rachel were to start having an affair with Darcy's fiance, wouldn't that seem kind of out of character for her? The answer is yes. That leads me to my next point. Both of these movies have cheating involved. Now, a lot of shows, especially like soap operas, have like some sort of cheating plot. Not all of them, mind you, but most do. Either it's a person believes their love interest is cheating because they tripped and fell on top of the opposite gender, or the love interest is led to believe that their love interest is cheating because their love interest was kissed by someone else, or maybe they were drugged and someone pretending to like sleep with them. Or sometimes the protagonist's love interest does straight up cheat but is forgiven because I don't know, reasons, I guess. Now, in her shoes, Sophia originally has a relationship with her superior. I don't know if it's her boss, but it's sort of implied that he's like higher ranking than her. And Maggie ends up sleeping with Sophia's boyfriend. This is shown as a bad thing. Sophia very, very correctly feels hurt, betrayed, and angry towards Maggie because Maggie basically was with her man. Now, in Something Borrowed, Rachel has an affair with Darcy's fiance, whose name I won't really mention because it's not really that important. And this is shown to be a romantic thing, as if Sophia's finally getting what she deserves, and that Darcy is sort of it's kind of shown like Darcy is the reason that Rachel isn't with her love interest, because I don't know. Now, I've been sort of keeping the relationship between the two characters sort of hidden, just sort of referring to them by their names. But I think the relationship between the characters changes their dynamic a lot. And it makes certain actions between the characters either more understandable or less understandable. So, you might not have noticed, but Maggie is Sophia's sister. That's right. They are blood related. Meanwhile, Rachel and Darcy, they're just friends. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because of how the movies sort of end, basically. Now, obviously, because they're movies, and movies typically have like a sort of happy ending, the characters at the end sort of get forgiven for their bad actions. But the thing is, I can understand why Sophia would ultimately forgive Maggie, because at the end of the day, that's her sister. And Sophia has done a lot for her, and that can't just be erased by like one bad thing. It is a very bad thing, and Sophia is completely in the right to be mad at Maggie for doing this terrible thing. Now, here's the thing. It's a lot more difficult to cut off like a family member over a friend. And I feel like that's because there's this sort of like not necessarily an expectation, but sort of like obligation, yeah, an obligation for people to help their family. Like that's why people often say the term family helps family, because even if others don't help you, then your family's always there. You can always fall back on them. Meanwhile, friends, they come and go. You can be friends with almost anyone you want. So I can't understand why Darcy would sort of forgive Rachel for her betrayal. And furthermore, why the relationship is as bad as it is. So the thing is, between Maggie and Sophia, their relationship is sort of complicated. And it has to do mostly with how Maggie was sort of treated growing up. Now, Maggie, being the attractive blonde, is sort of objectified. And that led to her, and like, treated as dumb for having dyslexia. Oh, yeah, that's important too. I will bring it up later, but keep in mind, Maggie has dyslexia. And that led to her sort of being the way she is. But Sophia, she grew up with Maggie, and not just in the sort of childhood friend sort of way. They were sisters. They lived in the same house. They probably shared the same room. They were there for each other through bad and good. The thing is, Rachel and Darcy being just friends makes things really bad, especially when we find out that Rachel sort of resents Darcy for sort of having everything, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, if you don't even like Darcy, why are you friends with her? Like, the movie tries to go out of their way to, like, sort of show Darcy to, like, not be a good friend. Like I said, she's sort of demanding. She constantly sort of, like, there's this point where she, like, asks Rachel to do something, and Rachel says no, and it's treated like this huge moment, like, oh my gosh, she's finally standing up to Darcy. Like, okay, if Darcy so frequently does things to sort of to basically so that your no doesn't really mean no, why would you keep being friends with her? Like, if your opinion, your wants don't matter to her. And it's also like shown that Darcy, the blonde girl in the something borrowed thing, is shown to be very kind of mean towards like Rachel. Like Darcy throws Rachel a birthday party, and basically makes it about herself, and she ends up telling Rachel, "Oh, you're like 30, or like, was she 30 or 40? I don't remember. Oh well, I don't care. Like, you're getting old, your shoes are ugly." I'm just like, okay, let's assume she does that often. Okay, let's assume she often tells Rachel that she's not attractive, that she's like fat and ugly, that she's like has bad taste in fashion. Question again. Why does Rachel keep being friends with her? Again, Rachel has absolutely no obligation to be friends with her. It's not like they have like this like group. It's just her, Darcy, and this other guy that whose name I don't remember because he's not really that important. It's just those three. It's literally revealed later that. Oh wait, hang on a second. I don't. Okay, the guy next to Rachel, this girl right here. These two right here. The guy next to Rachel is revealed to have feelings for her. Oh, sorry. Do you honestly think, tell me, do you honestly think that if Rachel were to tell him, hey, I don't really want to, like, be around Darcy. Like, so if you hang out with her, like if you still want to hang out with her, that's cool. Just don't invite me. Do you think he wouldn't agree with her? Better yet, what if I told you that this guy dislikes Darcy just as much as Rachel seems to dislike her? Do you honestly think he would not drop her for Rachel? It's just so stupid. Like, this whole contrivance is unnecessary. Okay, let's look at the relationships. Now, and when I say relationships, I mean let's look at the romantic relationships. Now, after the characters cheat, things happen and the movie progresses. So, after Maggie sort of is with Sophia's boyfriend, Sophia kicks Maggie out, obviously. Very much deserved. Not just because freaking Maggie cheated with her boyfriend, but also because, like, when Sophia sort of catches them, she sort of like starts mocking Maggie for like how dumb she is, because it's shown that she doesn't really remember guys' names. Oh, she starts saying, "Oh, ask her to say your name if she even remembers it." The Maggie tells Sophia, "Shut up, you fat pig," or something like that. And Sophia obviously gets pissed because, again, Maggie was just cheating with her boyfriend. And then she turns around and insults her sister, who took her in. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention it. Sophia was kicked out of her home by, I believe, her stepmom because of her sort of party girl. I don't want to do like a regular job. I want to be an actress thing. So yeah, she was basically gonna be homeless, and Sophia like took her in and let her live with her. So yeah. Now after that happens, Sophia ends up dating another one of her coworkers, whose name I also don't remember. But like I said, it's not really that important right now. Now, their relationship is actually built on something good, I feel. Like, she actually opens up to him a lot. And, like, it's already sort of implied that he was crushing on her. Like, after they build a relationship, he sort of, like, falls in love with her. And they're, like, getting engaged. But then, like, she starts worrying more and more. When I say she, I mean Sophia. Sophia starts worrying more and more about Maggie. As obviously them being sisters, Sophia sort of feels bad for kicking Maggie out and is worried about her safety and well-being and all that sort of thing. Now, because of that, Sophia sort of stops talking to her new boyfriend or like fiance, and that causes her fiance to sort of like not necessarily end things, but like they sort of go on a break because he's just like, oh, you're not talking to me. And there's this moment where Sophia starts like sort of yelling at her ex-boyfriend, the one who cheated with Maggie, because like technically speaking, he is like the reason like her relationship with Maggie became so bad. Because obviously it takes two to tango, and for as much as Maggie is in the wrong for having intercourse with her sister's boyfriend, the boyfriend is also to blame for knowingly and willingly being with his girlfriend's sister. So Sophia's fiance sort of gets mad. It's like, you didn't open up to me, but you opened up to him. Like, I don't really want to go through with this. And that leads to Sophia finding out about her grandmother from her dead mother's side. So, yeah, that's why Maggie was kicked out by her stepmother. Her biological mother died, and at some point, her biological father got remarried. His wife sort of kicked Maggie out. Now, after Rachel starts cheating with Darcy's fiance, they develop a relationship, and this is again shown to us as a cute and romantic thing. Never mind the fact that their relationship was built on betrayal. That doesn't matter because it's implied that they sort of had feelings for each other for a long time. And so it's shown as like, oh, they're just finally having the relationship that they were never allowed to have. Who was freaking stopping them? Literally no one was stopping them. Rachel was just too insecure to pursue a relationship, and hang on. This man, this ugly, ugly man, freaking got with Darcy just because Rachel told him, said to Darcy that her and the guy next to Darcy were just friends. Let that sink in. He started dating his supposed crush's best friend just because his crush said that he was just a friend. Now, at the very least, if the movie showed that she constantly said, "Oh, we're just friends. Oh, we're just friends." Maybe even sort of showing her hanging around other men, thus making Dex think, "Oh, she has a relationship with this person." Then I can understand it. But no. Oh yeah, his name is Dex. That's such a stupid name. Not Dexter. Dex. Anyways. It makes Dexter do, like, it make bleh. All Rachel does is say, "This man is my friend," once, and Dex folds. That's a common theme in kind of in the movie. Like when Rachel says, "Oh, I had the biggest crush on you," Dex fucking kisses her while being engaged to Darcy. But as the movies progress, things get better. Or for something borrowed, things get worse. Now, Sophia finds Maggie living with their grandma. And Sophia actually, she starts sort of like a dog walking business because she was never happy being a lawyer. So yeah, she's a lawyer. Sophia's a lawyer. And the reason, it is sort of implied that the reason Sophia became a lawyer is because was sort of expected from her. She's the intelligent, responsible one, and so that's why Sophia became like a lawyer. So she finds her grandma, and she finds Maggie, and so she sort of like tells her grandma, "Oh, I am getting married." Like later that night, Maggie sort of talks to her, being like, "Oh, we're getting married," and Sophie's just like, "Yeah." It's like, "Oh, congratulations!" Like, what's his name? And she's just like, "What do you want to know? You're gonna have sex with him too?" Understandably so. I would probably do that too if I was in Sophia's place, to be honest, because I'm a little petty. I'll admit it. I'm a little petty. But Maggie actually apologizes to Sophia. And now, this apology doesn't necessarily change things between them, but Maggie does end up finding out that because of her and Sophia's ex-boyfriend's actions, Sophia couldn't really talk to her fiance about her relationship with her family, because things were like really complicated. And this leads to Maggie doing something like a bit nose sticking, but not really because they're sisters. So Maggie calls Sophia's fiance, telling him that Sophia's pregnant. So Sophia's fiance comes, and Sophia finally tells him that her relationship with Maggie, her sister, is very complicated, and she just didn't really know how to explain it, and that she was sort of afraid that her fiance would leave her once they find out how messy and complicated their love life is. Not her love life, her family situation is. But Sophia telling her fiance like what's going on is enough to like make things better between them, because obviously relationships are built on communication and trust. Shocker, I know. And so, okay, so let's go to something borrowed. Now, after sort of developing a situationship, Dex sort of, he sort of doesn't want to, like, break things off with Darcy because his mom is depressed, and him being with Darcy makes her happy, I guess. I'm not joking. That is legit. The reason they give for why Dex can't break up with Darcy and be with Rachel. Now, Rachel ends up sort of developing a relationship with another guy. Like, there's this third guy who, like, whose character is, like, he's kind of, I don't know how to describe him, honestly. So he just, like, mostly tells, like, stories about himself. Like, oh, this time he helped, like, heal an injured raccoon or something. So yeah, Rachel sort of tries to, like, start a relationship with him to get, like, Dex mad, and then eventually they sort of have, like, a conversation in the rain where she's just like, oh, you should do what you want. Like, if you want to be with me, you should be with me. If you want to be a teacher, you should be a teacher. And Dex is just like, nah. And that's what causes Rachel to leave. No, I think Rachel goes to, I could be wrong, but she goes to London with her friend, the guy next to her, the, like, movie thing. And that's when it's revealed that he has feelings for her. And after, not too long after that, she gets, like, the call from Darcy where she tells Darcy, no, I'm not gonna do what you want, get out of here. And it's treated like this big deal, even though literally you should have just cut her off. Or whatever, I guess. And, then Darcy and not Darcy and Rachel, Darcy and Dex sort of break up. Now let's talk about the ending. Once Sophia's relationship with her fiance is rebuilt, Maggie, who sort of started, like, I don't know how to say it. So, like, it's not necessarily a fashion business, or, like, a fashion, like, helping business. She basically helps people pick out their clothes. Like, she buys them their clothes that she feels like would fit them. So Maggie buys Sophia her wedding dress, and then their grandma sort of talks to their dad, and they, like, discuss things about their mom. Like, other things happen, but, like, I don't feel like making this video longer than it already is. I'm, like, getting to the 40-minute mark, and I'm still not done. So yeah, and then Maggie sort of recites a poem. Oh yeah, even though Maggie, so I remember how I mentioned that Maggie was dyslexic. So in order to stay with her grandma, not just in order to stay with her grandma, Maggie tells her grandma that Maggie, wants to be an actress. and she asks her grandma for money, basically, to start her acting career. Now her grandma's like, okay, I'll help you, but only if you help with like chores and like get a job. Now she sort of gets a job, not necessarily as a nurse assistant, but something sort of like that, where she like keeps like patients company, gives them like water and stuff. Now one of the patients, he's an older man, and he like starts asking Maggie to read to him, and Maggie doesn't want to do it because she's dyslexic, and the guy like notices it and like asks her if she's dyslexic, and Maggie's just like, yeah, I am. He's just like, well, that's okay, read it, even if you make mistakes, it's fine. So she eventually starts learning how to read better, I guess. And she recites a poem as in the end, as Sophia and her now husband go off into the sunset. Not in the sunset because it's sort of nighttime by the time the movie ends. So yeah. The movie sort of ends like happily ever after. Because what Maggie didn't needed more than anything was to believe in herself. Believe that she wasn't dumb. Believe that she wasn't useless. Believe that she was... sorry, I burped. Believe that she wasn't just a pretty face. And once she started helping other people and doing things for other people, Maggie starts believing in herself. Now, while Sophia does have some of her own insecurities, a lot of them are due to her being unattractive. And I say that because she's subjectively not unattractive. So her finding someone who loves her regardless of how much she weighs or what she does for a living, like, there aren't any sort of expectations aside from honesty and communication between her and her fiance. Her fiance loves her for who she is, not how she looks, not what she does for a living, but for who she is as a person. And Something Borrowed does not do that. So what ends up happening is that Darcy breaks off her engagement. No, not Darcy. Dex. I keep forgetting about his name, I swear. I randomly remember it only to forget it. So Dex breaks off his engagement to Darcy, and he goes to Rachel and he's like, oh, I realized that I do want you. And Rachel, being the dumbass that she is, takes him back. And then Darcy goes to talk to Rachel, and then Darcy reveals to Rachel that she cheated on her fiance. Also, the whole Darcy cheating comes out of like literally nowhere. It's basically just to make Rachel and Dex look less bad, because now Darcy is just as bad as them. So yeah, Darcy reveals to Rachel that she cheated on Dex and that she's pregnant. And she notices his jacket and finds Dex in Rachel's apartment. They sort of get in a fight. She yells at Rachel. She leaves, and like their friendship is over, kind of. but not really. So some time passes, and Rachel is now in a relationship with Dex. She's like about to meet his parents, I believe, and she sees Darcy. And Darcy is like heavily pregnant. So yeah, at least a few months have passed. And Rachel's just like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And Darcy's just like, "Oh, you're sorry for cheating with my fiance?" And Rachel straight up says, "Oh no, I'm not sorry about that." What the fuck? Literally, Rachel does the whole "I'm not sorry for what I did, I'm just sorry for the way it made you feel." Like, she literally says, "Oh, I'm not sorry for cheating with your fiance. I'm just sorry that I hurt you." And apparently, that's enough to sort of have Darcy sort of forgive Rachel. And it's like, Darcy's just like, "Oh, well, I'm happier than I've ever been." And she walks off with like her baby's father. I'm not gonna refer to him as daddy because honestly, saying daddy gives me the ick. Okay. And the movie ends. Well, the movie doesn't really end there. There are some after credit scenes that are unimportant because they were gonna make a second movie, but I don't think they're going to anymore. So yeah, I have to say, watching these back to back is like a night and freaking day. Like this, if In Her Shoes is it like the sunny, like slightly cloudy or like cloudless, like not hot, just like warm with a calm, gentle breeze. A perfect sort of sunny day. And Something Borrowed is a cold night where it is raining and the winds are strong enough to rip your umbrella apart. In Her Shoes is just better. It has a plot that isn't dependent on the romance. It actually treats cheating like a bad thing. The character actually has to work towards gaining forgiveness from the person she wronged. And like, here's the thing. As I've said, Maggie is sort of treated like this sort of dumb bimbo. But the movie doesn't use that to excuse Maggie's actions. It doesn't. Maggie at no point ever says, "Oh, well, it's not my fault that I had sex with your boyfriend. It's your fault and Dad's fault and his wife's fault because they raised me like this. Like, you're so smart and you've been told that you can achieve great things without good looks, and everyone my whole life has sort of treated me like a pretty face. Nobody cares about what I think. And so I deserve your boyfriend." No, Maggie straight up admits that she was wrong. Maggie literally tells Sophia, "Uh, I know it won't fix anything, but I am sorry for what I did." And Rachel doesn't even do that. Rachel doesn't even say, "I'm sorry for what I did." Rachel has the audacity, the nerve to tell Darcy, I'm not sorry for what I did because you were a bad friend, you were mean to me, you made things from my life, important parts of my life about you. But I'm just sorry that I hurt you. Like, that is the most fake apology ever. The most fake apology ever. And just having Darcy be like, oh, everything is fine because I'm happy, just feels like a cop out. Like they're trying to say it's fine to do this so long as nothing goes wrong. And all of this could have been resolved if Rachel had just freaking broken off her friendship with Darcy. And that is why something borrowed sucks and in her shoes rocks. That is all. Bye bye.